welcome back to the Wrestling Rundown. I am Travis Colt by myself. Kevin Hoffman unfortunately had a late shift at work tonight, so I will be talking about Smackdown Live and 205 Live, the last main roster stop before this weekend's SummerSlam. And I gotta be honest, they kind of fell in the same way that Raw did. They didn't exactly make me more excited for any matches, which is really unfortunate. Luckily, a lot of the matches I'm already excited for, so let's hope SummerSlam doesn't fall in the same type of pattern that these two shows did. But we open up with Jinder Mahal celebrating the fact that it is Independence Day for India, and talking about how he's going to continue to be the greatest WWE champion of all time. There's a whole dance routine that happens. There's a lady in there that sings the Indian national anthem and all kinds of things. And then he talks about how in the main event he's going to beat a 16-time world champion, that being John Cena. And you know, things are going. He doesn't really mention Shinsuke all that much, and I think that's why Shinsuke ended up coming out. And he talks about how that in Japan it's a day to remember those who have died in war, and that this Sunday will be where he loses the championship to Shinsuke Nakamura. So, yeah, simple setup, nothing major. They didn't really get into an altercation at all. It was more so just a war of words. But Jinder has to try and prove himself later on when he faces John Cena in the main event. But our first match was number one contender for the Smackdown Women's Champion Natalya taking on Becky Lynch. We had an unnecessary, after both women have been in the ring, we had Naomi do her full entrance for some reason. There was a lot of wasted time on this week's SmackDown, unfortunately, and this was part of it. I love Naomi's entrance. I do like Naomi, but it was completely unnecessary to have it, especially after both women were already in the ring. But regardless, she's out there scouting Natalya because she has to face her on Sunday. Natty and Becky have a great match because they're two of the strongest women on the main roster. Very, very solid, very simple match. Natty's able to get in a few moves here and there, very back and forth. Becky's in the driver's seat. She tries to go for a top rope leg drop, but Natty ends up getting out of the way, locking in the sharpshooter and making Becky tap out. After the match, Natty decides she wants to go at it a little bit more. She tries to attack. She tries to put the sharpshooter back on Becky, but Naomi comes in, stops that. Natty ends up running away. Carmella comes out and reminds everyone that she's Miss Money in the Bank, and she wishes both Natty and Naomi good luck on Sunday. And then James Ellsworth, I like this last little line. James Ellsworth says, "Whichever one of you wins, you lose," because Carmella's going to cash in Money in the Bank. So yeah, setting the stage for the ladies. We actually had another segment just after that where Tamina was upset with Lana as to why she didn't have a match on SmackDown. And Lana says, "It's because you're not ready." And Tamina's like, "Excuse me?" And Lana goes, "Here's the thing. No one notices you. No one sees you. No one respects you. But if you follow my lead," and then essentially what I assume they're going for is that Tamina is going to be very much a female Rusev type of character, where Lana is going to act as the manager for Tamina on a regular basis and direct her very much the way Rusev did his first initial undefeated streak, which I think would be kind of cool, especially with the fact that Rusev was more so kind of the mindless monster until he built that character, whereas Tamina already has a character herself, and so to add savagery to that and have her just go nuts on women in the division with Lana kind of being her backer, it's an interesting way. I'm intrigued as to what they're gonna do. It probably won't start until next week, post SummerSlam. It'll be a little bit of SummerSlam fallout or whatever, but we'll see how that goes. I'm intrigued. We'll see what they do. The Usos Went and talked to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's acting like the whitest dad ever, because he is. Essentially, the Usos wanted to know what combination of the New Day they'd be facing at SummerSlam, and Bryan ensures them that they'd be facing Kofi Kingston and Big E, and he goes, and they're like, all right, that's great. Tonight we want Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So Daniel Bryan makes the match. And of course, these two teams have the most fantastic chemistry. This very much in the way that we have the Shield versus the Bar on Raw. This was a very good way to hype up a little bit more of the tension in this match, because with the New Day attacking the Usos last week, I believe, or the week before, I can't remember exactly when it was. The Usos got a little bit of revenge on their end, because they were able to use mind games. They were able to work around the fact that there are 3 members of the New Day, and were able to pick up a win over the champs. New Day were going for the Midnight Hour on Jimmy. Jay ends up shoving Xavier Woods off the top rope. Kofi tries to go after Jay, ends up getting a chop block from Jimmy, and then because Woods is out, Kofi ends up getting the double super kick, and the Usos pick up a win. So, a good preview of. I'm excited to see what these guys do at a pay-per-view like SummerSlam, where you know that there's a lot of hype around it, and you know these two teams can already kill it in just like a very straight-up simple tag team match. Tag teams, I think, are what is going to steal the show at SummerSlam. I don't think there's a singles match that is going to be able to hold a candle to the level of intensity that these tag teams have. And New Day versus Usos, we've seen it before. We'll see it again. Excited to see it. We had Rusev versus Chad Gable again, which ended in a double countout. Maybe I don't even know what ended. They were I think it was a double countout. They were fighting on the outside, and Rusev ended up throwing Chad over the table into the commentary chairs. Then he ripped the table apart, put the accolade on Chad Gable on the table, and yeah, cool. It was like when Paige does her, I don't even remember what her submission's called. She's been gone for fucking ever. Whenever she puts that move on the table, it's like, oh, it's so much more. It's stupid. Rusev gets back in the ring, has a microphone, takes forever to say Randy, and as soon as he says Randy Orton out of nowhere RKO's Rusev right in the middle of the ring, runs around a little bit, poses for the crowd, and essentially gets back at Rusev for attacking him at the end of Smackdown last week. So, building more in that match there. Then we built more in the AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon as a special guest referee. United States Championship match. AJ wanted to apologize to Shane McMahon. This didn't need to happen. This could have easily happened in like a backstage segment or something. It didn't need to be in the middle of the ring. It was really just an attempt to kind of even it up and give a moment where Kevin Owens accidentally hits Shane. And they tried to build it up like, oh, there's a lot of tension between AJ and Shane. I think they're really trying to put over the fact that because of what happened leading into WrestleMania, that there's all this like unfinished business between Shane and AJ, even though they've been cool since WrestleMania until all of a sudden now they have a problem with each other again. And they don't really... AJ's just like trying to make sure that he's not going to get screwed, and Shane... I don't see why Shane would screw him in the first place. It's just... It's a whole lot of unnecessary drama that they're trying to put into this when you don't need it, because these two are going to have a fantastic match anyway. So, but yeah, eventually there's more shoving. Styles ends up trying to punch Owens, and Owens ducks. Shane's able to catch his hand and go, oh, what is this? Are you're trying to punch me again? What are you trying to do? He goes, no, I'm not trying to punch you. And then Owens came in for a super kick. AJ ducks that. Shane takes the super kick. Owens is like, oh no, what did I do? And he walks away. So now both guys have hit Shane McMahon once. Now Shane can call it down the middle. Cool. Unless there's going to be, for some reason, Shane's going to turn heel. A lot of this stuff was completely unnecessary. Speaking of unnecessary, unfortunately this is unnecessary. Even though it's usually our favorite segment of the week, the Fashion Peaks finale. I think they even referenced within the segment that they didn't know what they were doing. This literally meant nothing to anything. Because apparently the reveal of Arn Anderson being the one that destroyed Tully, that was it. The Ascension returned the pie that they took 2 weeks ago. Or maybe it was last week. I don't even remember. Yeah, it's last week when they took the pie. Yeah, they returned it. There was weird shit in it, including a note that said 2B. Maybe it's like to be continued, because apparently the Fashion Police are going to return in 25 years, and then that turns into 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm guessing they're taking 2 weeks to try and decide what the fuck they're doing. But I was really enjoying these segments, and then this one just didn't live up to it. But like I said, Tyler Breeze actually at one point said, we're doing all these things, it's, we don't want to make people think we're just making it up as we go. And that's kind of how this felt. It was just like, here's the thing. Don't know why, but it's a thing. And it didn't really set up anything as far as like who's been destroying the office. Because that was a thing before Tully was a thing, so obviously Arn Anderson didn't do that. I don't know. Then we had our main event. The 16-time world champion, John Cena, taking on the current WWE champion for the first time ever. Jinder Mahal looking to make one more big win before he heads into his title match against Shinsuke on Sunday. And John Cena and Jinder had a decent match. It was, there was nothing out of the ordinary. I do appreciate that they gave Jinder or at least John found it necessary to let Jinder kick out of the FU, or the AA, whatever you want to call it. That was nice. That was a good touch. And I think, Jinder's really come along as a champion, and I think this having him kick out of that move makes him a bit more credible, because usually it's only main eventers that really get that spot. That kind of solidifies himself as a main eventer, which is cool. But as good as that moment was, then there was the Super AA. And I'm thinking, okay, man, they're really just gonna have Jinder lose 2 weeks in a row and then give him to Shinsuke. Instead, Jinder still lost, but it was by disqualification, because Baron Corbin shows up out of nowhere, chucks his briefcase in, and attacks John Cena. Okay. So, John Cena wins by DQ. Okay. Jinder's down. Baron walks away. Then realizes he's got his contract with him. And then he cashes in. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. John Cena's are they gonna switch this and make it so Corbin versus Cena is a title match and Shinsuke versus Jinder is just a regular match? Or are they gonna put the two together and maybe relieve some space on the card because there's 12 matches. Because he hands it to the referee. Mike Chioda goes out, tells the announcer. The announcer does it. Then they take this awkwardly long amount of time, which I don't think has ever really happened. Well, maybe it has. It seemed like it was awkwardly long for the referee to try and get Jinder Mahal up. Usually that doesn't matter. The rules of the Money in the Bank is whenever, wherever, as long as there's a ring and a referee. It doesn't matter if the champion is ready or not. It just happens. Because if it was whether or not the champion was ready, Money in the Bank would mean nothing. Because someone like CM Punk wouldn't have won it from Edge after Edge was Batista bombed by Batista. So Chioda's making sure that Jinder's ready. All the while, Cena is still on the apron. And Baron Corbin he's like ready for Jinder, but he keeps looking back. Keeps looking back at Cena like he's waiting for Cena to do something. And I was like, do not let Cena just attack him and cause a disqualification in this whole thing, because that would be the dumbest thing ever. And then they made it dumber by the bell ringing. And the first thing that Baron Corbin does is turn around and punch John Cena. That allows Jinder Mahal to run over after getting hit with a Super AA and roll up Baron Corbin. And just like that, Money in the Bank is gone. So now Baron Corbin is the third person to fail at cashing in Money in the Bank. The other two being Damien Sandow and John Cena. So then Baron Corbin loses his mind, tears up the table. Cena laughs. I know that it's supposed to build tension in their match, but I don't like it. Because now if Baron Corbin loses on Sunday, what do you do with Baron Corbin? He has to win Sunday. He absolutely has to. There's no other option. Because if he loses, he's done. There's no direction for him to go. But we'll talk about that in predictions later on in the week. So let's go to 205 Live, where we started with an awesome tag team match. We had a combination of two guys that Tony Nese has spent the last 2 weeks beating, that being Cedric Alexander and Grand Metalik, taking on Tony Nese and his long-running off-and-on tag team partner, Drew Gulak. And if there was ever a time to make a set of cruiserweights a tag team and put them on the Raw tag team division, Tony Nese and Drew Gulak are absolutely the way to go. Because they're not the smallest guys on the roster, but they're also not the biggest. And you have Drew Gulak, who has that ground and pound style. You have Tony Nese, who can play the power game, but also get a little flashy. I think they'd make a fantastic addition to the tag team division. And it was just added to by the way they worked together in this match. Great opening spots between Cedric Alexander and Drew Gulak. Grand Metalik gets tagged in. Him and Drew do more great stuff. The Tony Nese gets in. These four guys, these are four of the best guys on the 205 Live roster. And they continue to impress. These guys need to be in the title picture soon. Maybe after the whole Tozawa Neville thing is over. We've got four awesome guys that need to be in it. Some awesome dives from Grand Metalik as usual. But Gulak is getting pinned by Cedric. Nese is able to run in, drop kick Cedric in the face. He's able to just huck Metalik out of the ring. Metalik is done at this point. And then while Cedric is distracted, Gulak tries to Tony Nese ended up getting taken out somehow. I don't remember. This is usually why Kevin's here. He helps piece things together. But, yeah. So, takes out Metalik. Cedric, I think, ends up stopping Nese. And then Gulak tries to go for a roll-up on Cedric. Cedric kicks out and is able to just grab Gulak, hit the lumbar check, and pick up a win. So now Tony Nese's winning streak is kind of gone down, but it's because of Drew Gulak. So he's probably not going to be very happy about that. We'll see where that leads into next week's 205 Live, because I can't imagine they're going to do this match again for like a pre-show match. There's 12 matches this Sunday. One of them's got to be the pre-show, right? Or two of them? I don't know. There's a lot of matches. Then we had Lince Dorado, Noam Dar, Ari Daivari all in kind of a backstage segment talking about the title match between Tozawa and Neville from the night before at Raw. Dar doesn't seem very impressed by Tozawa, but Lindsay's like, no, he was a fighter. He absolutely deserves that win. And Daivari's just happy that Neville isn't champion anymore. And then it gets awkward because Neville is standing there looking like he hasn't slept in a day. He picks up a chair, he hucks it at the wall. He's pissed. And Tozawa has a championship celebration later, so you can guarantee that he's going to be showing up there. Spoiler alert. Then we had the Brian Kendrick taking on Mustafa Ali, which also ended in disqualification. Which, in this sense, or in this realm, makes sense because of the issues between Kendrick and Gallagher. Kendrick is about to do something to Mustafa because he gets the toe of Mustafa's boot stuck inside the stairs. And he's about to attack it somehow. He's been paranoid this whole time. Mustafa Ali's been kicking his ass. But Mustafa ended up getting caught in the captain's hook, ended up getting out of that. Kendrick got really aggressive and tried to go for just an injury type situation. Gallagher comes out, just beats the fuck out of Brian Kendrick. Kendrick runs away, and Gallagher's just seething. He needs to completely destroy Brian Kendrick. We actually saw Kendrick later. Dasha ends up, catching him in the hallway, and he's got his bags. He's trying to get out of here. He's like, I gotta go. I have to get away. Jack Gallagher won't stop. He won't stop. He's crazy. And then as he keeps talking, he realizes he's like he needs to stop. How do I stop? I can stop him. He's going to challenge Jack Gallagher to a duel. Now, last time we saw this was Gallagher versus Daivari after all the cheap shots that Daivari had taken at Jack Gallagher, and then Jack Gallagher actually kind of reciprocating those. So we'll see if Brian Kendrick's attempt at challenging Jack Gallagher to a duel helps him at all, but I can't imagine that Jack Gallagher is going to be any more okay with the situation. And Corey Graves called him Gentleman Jack the Ripper, which is a great kind of like pseudo nickname for how crazy Gallagher's been. I appreciated that. Thank you very much, Corey. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to help Brian Kendrick's case at all. Maybe that'll kind of put Gallagher back into Gentleman Jack type mindset. We'll see. I don't think it's going to help. I think it's just royally going to screw Brian Kendrick over. He's going to put himself into a situation that he can't get out of. Or he is the man with a plan, so I'm sure he'll have some sort of extra thing planned for Jack Gallagher. Then Rich Swann was supposed to go against TJP again. Luckily or unluckily, that didn't happen. I don't know. Alright, we'll set the whole situation up. Swann is talking to Dasha, I believe, about the fact that he's going to go against TJP. Daivari comes in and says, plans have changed. TJP is out. I'm your new opponent. And Swann's like, well, what happened to TJ? And he's like, that doesn't matter. You need to be worried about what's going to happen to you out there at the hands of me. So we have Ari Daivari versus Rich Swann, which is a fantastic match. These guys are awesome. I'm glad that Daivari's getting the spotlight he is. The fact that he was in 2 segments on this episode of 205 Live is awesome. Great back and forth. Swann doing his usual stuff. Daivari being a fantastic heel. Swann, though, with the offense that he has, is getting the advantage. Ends up stopping Daivari a few times. He hits the rich kick, but doesn't pin, which was kind of weird, and you could kind of tell they were setting up for some sort of screwy finish. He hits the rich kick, sets him up, goes up, and he's about ready to hit the Phoenix Splash. And the turnbuckle he's in is kind of faced towards the entranceway, and so he's ready to hit the Phoenix Splash, and then TJ Perkins' music hits. TJ comes out, and he's got a full, immobilizer on his leg, and he's on crutches. If I can find out what the situation, if I can find out some sort of injury update, I'll put it down here below. But yeah, he's in a full immobilizer on his right leg, and so this distracts Rich Swann, allows Daivari to pull the leg out from underneath Swann. Swann hits face first on the top turnbuckle, ends up getting hit with the hammerlock lariat, and Ari Daivari picks up a win over a former Cruiserweight champion, which is great. I don't know if this is legit, or I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. If it was just a ruse, then I guess it's kind of smart. Otherwise, it seems, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out what happens. Then we have the championship celebration, which, boy, you know what? Kevin Hawk, you're glad you weren't here because you didn't have to sit through Titus O'Neil talking for 15 minutes about how great Tozawa is, and slightly coming on to Tozawa saying, oh, I've been telling you all these things for the last 24 hours, but I need to tell you how I really feel. And it was a little awkward, and it was just a really bad attempt at this was a great moment for you, I'm happy for you, I'm happy for us. It was weird. Neville eventually comes out completely disheveled. He looks worse than he did in the backstage segment earlier. His hair is just everywhere. He looks like a fucking zombie. And we find out that we are getting the rematch at SummerSlam, which is great. It doesn't change the fact that if Tozawa wins, it really took a lot away from that win, and a lot away from even the loss for Neville because it wasn't on a pay-per-view. Eventually, Neville puts up the countdown clock to SummerSlam, which is 4 days, 18 hours, some odd minutes and seconds, blah, blah, blah. And so Neville gives him you have 144 hours before that championship comes back to me. Titus says, oh, well, you're not, I don't know why you're coming down here because you're not going to fight Tozawa now. And he ends up trying to run into the ring. Tozawa ends up drop kicking him. Tozawa goes fucking nuts and just hucks Neville into the turnbuckle a few times and just completely destroys him on the outside. And then Neville gets away and is, he's mad. Tozawa's holding up the belt. So yeah, I can't say that any of this stuff really made me more excited for SummerSlam. I am glad that we're still going to get that Cruiserweight title match on the pay-per-view, even though it is lacking a little now. So yeah, at least our next video we'll be talking about NXT and its go-home show to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. We know that should be good, especially because we're going to be getting Roderick Strong versus Drew McIntyre, which is going to be fucking awesome. And then we'll also have Lucha Underground. And Kevin Hawk will be back for that, as well as predictions coming out later this week. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. Be sure to click all the links down in the description to send you to social medias. You can check out our podcast, which is working this week, where it's all of our regular reviews. Check out Reasonable Wrestling Fans, because coming up this week, it's Reasonable with W, like wrestling. Coming up later this week, those 2 punishment videos that I've been promising for a couple of weeks will be up. The temperature's gone down, my computer's not freaking out, so those will be up. As well as a future punishment for SummerSlam, which you'll want to stay over here for the SummerSlam predictions, because you won't get those in podcast form. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at whatever video you decide to watch next.